It's good to have you with us on this Friday morning. I'm Joe Fryer.
And I'm Savannah Sellers. Yes, it's Friday. We're going to start this hour with this monster of a winter storm that has a massive part of the U.S. in its path. This morning, roughly half of the country is bracing for this dangerous weather system that is expected to bring heavy snow, ice, and potentially life-threatening cold. The storm will begin in the southwest today, then make its way towards the northeast across more than 2,000 miles over several days.
As of this morning, more than 170 million people are under winter alerts, stretching from Arizona all the way to upstate New York. State and local officials across the country are springing into action. Already a dozen states have declared states of emergency, bracing for dangerous conditions that could linger far beyond this weekend. We're going to get to a full forecast in just a moment. First, let's get to NBC News correspondent Ryan Chandler in Dallas with a closer look at the preps for this potentially historic storm.
Well, Savannah, Joe, good morning. We're getting into the final window of preparation before this storm rolls through. Now throughout the United States, some half of Americans are facing down the consequences of this. A dozen states declaring states of emergency. Officials say take these last hours today to get out and prepare to make sure you don't have to leave your home once this storm hits over the weekend. Here in Dallas, we're already seeing some precipitation. It's a light mist right now, but the concern is that precipitation is going to pick up, and then once it mixes with that frigid cold air blast, it's going to turn into snow, sleet, and freezing rain. That's our biggest concern here. Not so much that we'll get snowed in, but that we'll lose power, that the roads will be treacherous once the freezing rain could bring down power lines and trees. The bottom line, as we watch this storm front roll in, now we have a good idea of where it's going to go and what it's going to do. Now it's up to everybody who's in that storm's path to do what they need to do to stay warm and stay safe. And the first responders we've spoken to here in Dallas say the best way to stay safe is to just stay home until the ice thaws. Savannah, Joe.
All right, Brian, thank you. Well, let's get a closer look at the timing and track of this massive storm. We have meteorologist Dylan Dreyer here with us with the latest path. Hey, Dylan, good morning.
This is an absolutely huge storm. It extends from the southwest all the way into the northeast. We have winter weather alerts, advisories, watches, warnings, ice storm warnings, all in effect. As we go through the day, we are going to see that snow and ice take hold of Texas. That pink line, that's an area where we are closely watching because that's where we're going to see the icing. That's what causes the most significant power outages, and it's in an area that's not used to all of this ice. Now, tomorrow, we're going to see that ice take hold of Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, up into Tennessee, and that, again, could lead to the widespread power outages. So in areas like Nashville, you'll start with snow, you'll change over to some ice in the evening. Dallas, you're going to see sleet throughout the day. Sleet is better than freezing rain because it doesn't stick to the power lines as much. That could help with power outages, but still very, very dangerous on the roads. Heavy snow in St. Louis. Atlanta starts with rain and then changes over to ice. Now, on Saturday, it starts to move into the East Coast. We're going to see that icing still a potential through New Jersey, D.C., down through Virginia, and then north of that, we're going to start with snow in areas like New York City before we change over to ice on top of perhaps up to a foot of snow. D.C. will start with snow, changes to ice. Charlotte, significant icing expected there. You go out to Pittsburgh and Cincinnati, just snow throughout the duration of this event. So we could see up to an inch of ice in areas like northern Mississippi. That would cause widespread, long-duration power outages because of the sheer weight of that ice on the power lines and the trees that topple onto the power lines. It's just basically a domino effect once you have that ice. As for snow, we're looking at about 9 to 12 inches in this area in pink and purple here in the northeast and the mid-Atlantic. That's before we get any of that icing. So that's why we are going to see such high numbers and such an impact with the airlines and also on the roads, too. Pittsburgh could end up with about 10 to 15 inches. Also want to focus on the backside of the storm, just how cold it's going to be. We've got the cold air in place. Temperatures running about 20 to 35 degrees below average, and we are going to see that cold air sink all the way down south. I mean, we are looking at teens, wind chills well below zero for folks who are just frankly not used to it. Back to you.
All right, Dylan, thank you so much.
For more on how cities are preparing for this storm, let's bring in Michael Shaw. He's the director of Kansas City Public Works. Michael, good morning. I don't need to tell you the brutal cold is already settling in around Kansas City. Forecasts say, I guess, the wind chill could reach as low as negative 25 degrees there today. I mean, how you doing, and what are you doing to make sure your community is safe and just ready for all this?
We're doing well here in Kansas City. This is going to be very bitter cold. We got some snow coming in. but we're well prepared, and we're looking forward to the challenge that's coming before us to make Kansas City clean. So we're looking forward to it.
We started reporting yesterday some states were declaring a state of emergency. Missouri is one of those 12. Explain to our viewers how that helps people like you, local officials, to prepare for something like this. What resources does it give you?
Well, most importantly, as you know, we think about what the costs are going to be and the damages that might come out of this brutal cold and some of this weather that's coming in. It'll help us on some cost recoveries as relates to that. But we're expecting about 8 inches of snow here in Kansas City. And so we really appreciate the state understanding the challenges that's going to become before a lot of us here in the state of Missouri.
So you guys can clear the roads. That's something that you can try and control, but you can't control the cold weather with those wind chills perhaps staying below zero through the weekend. What are your biggest concerns for the impact this could have for days and days? That
cold temperature is just going to be very hard. You know, we're going to be pushing the snow out of the way, but you know, we got to worry about refreeze. We have to worry about ice. We have to worry about, you know, again, the bitterly cold temperatures. It makes that snow linger and stay around for quite a long time with those bitterly cold temperatures.
Michael, also, I imagine it's a challenge, maybe like once the snowstorm ends, but then it's so cold before that snow freezes to get everything cleared. Walk us through a process like that.
Yeah, so, we started brining a couple of days ago, trying to make sure that we can reduce adherence of any kind of ice to the pavements. And we're really going to be plowing. This thing is supposed to, it's going to snow for about 24 hours nonstop. So that's going to be a lot of work pushing snow for, all day Saturday. On Sunday, we're going to be out here, again, continually to push more and more snow. And then we have to use, treatments that can work in very frigid temperatures. Things like ice ban and things like that would be used at some point in order to try and keep the streets dry. And that's going to be the biggest challenge, keeping these streets dry.
What is your number one message to people in Kansas City for this weekend?
Stay home, hunker down. It's going to be very, very cold out here. Let's give our personnel opportunity to get these roads clear and make these roads safe for you. And then also give our emergency services teams, a break. We don't want to be trying to rescue stranded motorists if we can avoid it. But absolutely just try to avoid getting out on these streets as much as possible. And that'll keep everybody safe.
All right, Michael Shaw, thank you so much. We wish you the best in the coming days here.
Thank you.
Well, President Trump has filed a $5 billion lawsuit against J.P. Morgan Chase and its CEO, Jamie Dimon, over alleged debanking, or that's when you close accounts for political reasons. Now, the lawsuit says President Trump held several accounts which were closed.
His lawsuit accuses the bank of libel, also something called breach of implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. The suit also alleges that the bank and its chief executive violated Florida trade practices laws. The bank responded, saying in part that the suit has no merit.
NBC News legal affairs reporter Gary Grunback joins us now to talk about this. Gary, good to see you. So tell us how this lawsuit came about and help us just understand what exactly it is that is being alleged here.
Yeah, hey there, guys. Several years ago, President Trump promised retribution for those he believed wronged him, and this is a really great example of that. After January 6th attack on the Capitol, a lot of big institutions, a lot of big companies cut ties with President Trump and the entire Trump family. J.P. Morgan and Jamie Dimon were one of those, and President Trump is now saying he was blacklisted by the bank, saying he lost a lot of money in that process, and it led to less favorable terms with other banks when he went to use those services. He says it's cost him $5 billion in reputational and financial damages, guys.
So we say that J.P. Morgan says the suit has no merit. Anything else we're hearing, and what happens next then?
So they're not denying they closed the accounts, but they're stressing that it was not political. They're saying in part in a statement, quote, JPMC does not close accounts for political or religious reasons. We do close accounts because they create legal or regulatory risk for the company. Now, this will work its way through the legal process, and as these types of cases really often do, they will likely settle out of court, guys.
Gary, while we have you, we wanted to ask you about another legal case. This is a lawsuit involving the president's White House ballroom construction. So yesterday, during arguments, a federal judge seemed like they're leaning toward hitting pause on the project. What's this whole lawsuit about? Why is that? What do you say?
Yeah, it's all about the legality of the construction of that controversial White House ballroom. It's going to be $400 million worth of a 90,000 square foot ballroom right where the East Wing used to be at the White House. And in part, this controversy is because of the construction approvals that are required from several different historical commissions here in Washington, D.C. before you build something like a 90,000 square foot ballroom on the White House complex. Now, the judge here, Richard Leon, suggested that if only they'd go through those approvals first and get all the okays from not only Congress authorization, but these historical commissions, then it would be okay. But they haven't done that yet. So it does seem very likely that the judge is going to hit pause.
I mean, so you can't undo the destruction of the East Wing. So what could this all mean for the project going forward?
So realistically, again, this is going to likely be paused, but eventually this will end up happening, right? And they will get the approvals they need because President Trump has stacked a lot of these commissions with people that are favorable to him. So they've just got to go through that process, get the okays in mid-March, it looks like, and then they'll be on their way to building this ballroom.
All right, Gary, thanks so much.
European nations may have averted an immediate economic and military confrontation with President Trump over Greenland, but anxiety is still lingering across the Arctic island. Both the leaders of Greenland and Denmark cautiously welcome the president's announcement of that framework of a future deal, but they remain skeptical, warning they would not negotiate their sovereignty. NBC News correspondent Ellison Barber has more from Greenland. Ellison, good morning.
Hey, Joe and Savannah. At a press conference yesterday, Greenland's prime minister said that he did not know the details in this future deal or framework of a deal that President Trump posted about. But he said, like we have heard from the Danish prime minister, that they are willing to talk about and negotiate on Arctic security, that it's something officials here are worried about as well. But he doubled down on making clear again that what they are not willing to discuss is the sovereignty of this territory. He says Greenland is a part of the Kingdom of Denmark, and that is what they want it to be for now. But in terms of questions about security, everyone from the Danish government to those here in Greenland, they're open and willing to talk about it. And the people here in Greenland, they see that as a positive thing as well. What they're still not on board with and still have worries about is this question of what President Trump thinks the future of Greenland will be. And despite what he has said of late, there are a lot of people here who say they aren't sure if they can trust it, if he really is moving on from this idea that he wants Greenland to be part of the United States. I want you to hear from one person we spoke to yesterday. He owns a hotel here in Nook. He was actually setting up a generator because he said he still felt like they needed to be prepared for worst case scenario options. Remember, just a few days ago, you had the prime minister here telling people that while they thought a U.S. military invasion in Greenland was unlikely, that they also couldn't rule it out and that they wanted people to be prepared. So they were updating civil preparedness guidelines, telling people to have food, 5 days worth of food. When we spoke to this hotel owner, his name is Klaus, he said he had done that at that hotel, stocked up on things. He was also setting up his generator much earlier than he expected to because things still feel, in his view, so uncertain. Listen to some of what he told us.
Maybe not afraid, but it's more getting practical and seeing as it is a real threat. So you can see behind me that we have actually installing an emergency generator. So we're starting to think about things like that. Also stocking up food and stuff like that. So it is a real thing. And again, it's even more scary because it should be one of our best allies.
At the same time, people are also cautiously optimistic, hoping that President Trump will now see Greenland for what it is, a country that has a history, a people, a culture who want to stay as they are. And for now, they say what they want to do is stay in the Kingdom of Denmark. And they say their sovereignty, that's not up for debate. And they think it shouldn't be up for debate at any point. Joe, Savannah.
All right, Ellison, thank you.
On Capitol Hill, former Department of Justice Special Counsel Jack Smith defended his investigations into President Donald Trump during his first public testimony before Congress on Thursday. Well, in a chaotic, loud, really angry scene before the bipartisan committee, Smith declared he would not be intimidated as Republicans dismissed the probes as politically motivated. NBC News Washington reporter Alice Barr joins us now with more. Alice, good morning.
Good morning, Savannah. In his testimony, Jack Smith was adamant that he would bring the same charges again under the same circumstances, whether the former president was a Republican or Democrat.
Mr. Chairman,
in a sometimes combative hearing on Capitol Hill, former special counsel Jack Smith standing by his past investigations into President Trump.
Our investigation developed proof beyond a reasonable doubt that President Trump engaged in criminal activity.
The two federal cases on the president's handling of classified documents and interference in the 2020 election results, both scrapped before he re-entered the White House. But Republican anger over what they believe was unfair targeting continues.
It was always about politics. And to get President Trump, they were willing to do just about anything.
Democrats rejecting that.
For us, it's all about the rule of law and who's going to stand by the rule of law and who's going to oppose it.
While on social media, President Trump called Smith deranged and said, quote, hopefully the Attorney General is looking at what he's done.
Do you believe that President Trump's Department of Justice will find some way to indict you?
I believe that they will do everything in their power to do that because they've been ordered to by the president.
Smith adding,
I will not be intimidated.
Republicans also accuse Smith of spying on GOP lawmakers for seeking their phone records.
The egregious abuse of power.
Smith said the records that did not include content of calls were necessary to determine the president's contacts during allegations he sought to delay the January 6th election certification.
My office didn't spy on anyone.
Police officers injured defending the Capitol on January 6th were in the room and visibly frustrated throughout the hearing.
And those police officers have also spoken out against President Trump's decision to pardon roughly 1,500 people charged in the January 6th Capitol riot. Smith warned that those convicted of assaulting police officers that day are dangerous to their community. Savannah?
Alice, how likely is it that we could see DOJ charges against Smith, and on what grounds?
Yeah, we really don't know how likely it is or what the charges would be, but there has been this pattern of President Trump going on social media and publicly saying the Justice Department should look into, should prosecute potentially people that he considers his political foes, from New York Attorney General Letitia James to former FBI Director James Comey, and the DOJ has then followed through. And now we've seen him do that same thing with Jack Smith.
All right, Alice, thank you so much.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.